But yeah, I guess what we spoke a fair bit about, the sense that a lot of women found, because of the drop in estrogen, which is like Jane calls it the hormone of tolerance, basically, is that the things that we'd tolerated or endured even when we were in the mother phase of our lives, we suddenly can't tolerate them anymore. And that's where a lot of the suffering, I suppose, comes from, because it's the stuff that remains unexamined in our lives. Again, I'm not personally experienced with this, so it's just what I picked up from being in the workshop.
Yeah,
But
I mean, what I'll say is that most of what I've gone through has been physical. So really unexpected, because most of the other times of my life, like I've had easy periods, no unwanted pregnancy, one child, really great pregnancy. And I would say, as far as it goes, like pretty resolved in terms of earlier traumas, and no one's perfect, but pretty robust.
Yeah.
And yet, that's what was shocking to me. Number one, the timing of it. I thought I had another 8 years because my mom went through it at 55, and I started suddenly in the beginning of the pandemic at 47, and was just like, wait, hold on. What? Like, is this really happening? And then the confusion of, is this just stress? And then talking with people like Kate Codrington, who wrote the book Second Spring, and said that's like not even a question of stress or perimenopause. It's the same thing. Like whatever stressors you've been under come to that time. So for me, the menopause has been, I have had experiences with extreme anger and rage, which a lot of people report postpartum, and I didn't have that postpartum. And so it's the first time in my life where I would say, like, I'm just really way more highly irritable, very temperature sensitive, definitely a bigger sense of just loss of control, especially being a yogi. I could just really control my states, and getting to a point where I'm just hot flashing over and over. And normally I could do something to interfere with it, and I can't interfere with it, and I just have to give myself over to it. So for me, it's been a challenging period. Well, also just so many physical symptoms of the clitoral, for me, shrinkage, interlabial shrinkage. My clients used to tell me about, like, oh my God, it's so painful. It feels like sharp razors. And I would be like, what are you talking? I couldn't even fathom that. I couldn't even imagine what that was. And then that started happening. And I was just like, oh my God, I just figured, oh, this won't happen to me. Right. And that's what you hear when people read my book. They're like, oh, your story was like that. But before I gave birth, I thought that won't happen to me. And then the thyroid stuff, well, that won't happen to me. And I've been hearing that over and over from women. Like, I thought it just wouldn't happen to me. And then it did happen to me. So as far as the overall thing, I think that because the Call of the Wild and like my Jaguar work, that's been an ongoing body of work for me since the person looked at me and said, you're a Jaguar, which was about 2012. So it's about 13 years that I've been working with healthy sympathetic drive, and what that means, and how to access anger, and what that looks like physically for me, and how that feels, and repairing my system in that way. When I teach, I usually call estrogen the give a fuck hormone. It's like your estrogen goes down, you just don't give a fuck. You're just like, I don't care about your dinner, and I don't care about your laundry, and I'll just take myself and move to the Sunshine Coast.